What if I hate being Catholic? This is a question I hear sometimes when people are getting ready to convert to the Catholic faith and they're looking at it and there are things undoubtedly drawing them into the church, but deep down inside they have this fear, and sometimes they don't want to voice that fear that, well, what if I go through all of the stuff to become Catholic and then when it's all said and done, I hate it? What if that happens to you? I want to tell you something. I can understand that feeling. One of the things that was hardest for me when I was getting ready to become Catholic was this deep-seated fear of what if I go through this process and then at the end of it, I'm just unhappy. I don't like it. What am I going to do? Now, why would anybody think that in the first place? Why would anybody think that? I mean, I'll tell you, for me, the things that trip me up a little bit. When I look at my life and the things that I was into and enjoyed as part of my Christian faith in Protestantism, and then I looked at Catholicism, there were some things that I felt like might not be the best match. Now, for example, I love awesome contemporary heavy worship music, okay? I'm not talking like Shine Jesus Shine, that, from the 90s or whenever that song came out. I'm talking about heavy stuff. I like heavy music. And there's a place for that in Protestantism, like heavy worship music. It is a thing, by the way, Catholics. And I know some of you are already scoffing, going, oh, the humanity. But that's the stuff I dug. And I wasn't sure how I was going to deal with going to the Mass. The other thing I really loved about my worship experience was I loved long, in-depth, in-your-face sermons. And that's not typically what you get in the Catholic Mass. How was I going to handle that? Believe me, there were parts of me that were a little bit afraid of how I was going to fit in, because really that's ultimately what this is about. There's one thing to say I really am convinced of the truths of the Catholic faith. It's another thing to feel like you fit in. I talk about this in my book, The Convert's Guide to Roman Catholicism, Your First Year in the Church. Just the cultural differences and those aspects. So if you know somebody who's coming into the church, or you yourself are coming into the church, or you just want to understand what us crazy converts are going through, pick up a copy of my book and check it out. Because there are a lot of things that can trip us up as converts coming in that we might be freaked out about. Those things that are perhaps cultural, that maybe are a little weird to us. I remember the first time I went to the blessing of the throats, you know what I'm talking about, in February, where they have this weird looking Y-shaped candle and people come forward and they put this thing around your throat. I was like, what in the world is this? I mean, let's face it, for some of us new folks coming into the church, some things might just seem a little weird. The first time I saw an incorruptible body or a relic, I was thrown off, this is a thing? What is this all about? What if you get into all of this and you're just tripped up by some of these things? So you can have your things about the worship that might seem weird to you, that you're worried you're not going to like, some of those weird cultural things that you might not understand and think are a little bit weird. And let's face it, sometimes the people can be hard to take in the Catholic Church. And let's face it, some people in Catholicism might not be super welcoming, at least the way that you're used to, or might be kind of judgmental and might take for granted things about their faith as just that's what everybody's supposed to do. But for you, you don't know what's going on. And that can be tough sometimes, not to mention all of the division that exists in Catholicism. When the minute you come into the church, you've got this crew over here telling you that you're worshiping in the wrong way, and this group over here saying, no, that those guys are way wrong. Who's right? And didn't you think that you were getting out of that stuff when you became Catholic? It can be jarring, to say the least. What if you're just having a tough time? What if you don't know how to get connected to community or to find a good church? Friends, I want to share with you what you should do if you find yourself in that situation, because it could happen to you. You might find yourself realizing that the Catholic Church that you were being drawn to on your journey of conversion isn't what you're experiencing in everyday life. Let me just share with you 5 things I want you to think about. The first one is this. Friends, don't freak out. Take it slowly. Just relax. Sometimes we can be so quick to jump to a conclusion or react emotionally that can be a problem for us. We have to remember we're stepping into a different universe as Catholics, and we can't just react initially to everything that comes our way. We have to stop and just take it slowly. So just relax. Take a deep breath and figure out what's going on. The second thing I would say is this, and this was a huge thing for me. Learn the why behind the what. So when you see something like the blessing of the throats or an incorruptible body and that freaks you out, learn what that's all about. Learn about the practices and where these things come from and understand why the church does these things. Chances are that's going to take care of your issues. When you learn the why behind the what, oftentimes the why is so beautiful that it makes the what super meaningful. So before you react in a way and just kind of throw up your hands and go, I can't do this, I hate it, this stuff is so weird, learn the why. Ask questions, figure it out. Okay, the third thing, and this is also very important, distinguish between what is actual Catholic teaching versus what some Catholics just happen to do maybe culturally. Here's the deal. You don't have to love everything culturally connected to Catholicism. You just don't. Okay? I have never played bingo. It's just not my thing. And I know a lot of other Catholics haven't played bingo, but one of those things that you think about, like that's what you think about. Well, Catholics are always playing bingo or whatever. I don't do that. You don't have to do that. There are going to be some things that people in certain Catholic cultures may do that is fine, but it isn't necessarily something you have to adopt. Okay? Now you might choose to after you learn the why behind the what, but just keep in mind the difference, because Catholicism is huge and it spans lots of cultures and lots of different types of people with lots of different expressions and different things going on. And some things that people do in a way to practice their faith are great for them, but not necessarily something that you have to do, okay? So also, my friends, understand the difference. This is number 4. Understand the difference between Catholics and Catholicism. So if you're having trouble with other humans, which you will, and guess what? I want to remind you, you probably had trouble with other humans when you were Protestant too, because not all Protestants are like super awesome all the time to each other. And you've probably experienced that too. But it's funny how we never say, oh, those Presbyterians are super mean or super, superstitious or super weird or whatever. We don't do that. We just do that to Catholics a lot of times. But if you find yourself wrestling with some human behaviors and some people that might just seem a little strange to you or mean or judgmental or whatever, recognize this: we're all on a journey. Individual Catholics don't necessarily equal Catholicism because, hey, none of us are doing this perfectly. All right, my friends? We all have our stuff. We all have our idiosyncrasies and our human behaviors that we just bring with us. And there could probably be somebody who's equally offended by the way you do or don't do things as part of your faith in the same way that you are about them. So don't throw the whole Catholic Church out because you had some mean person at Mass the other day that gave you the stink eye when you said hi to him. Okay, whatever that might be. Number 5, and I think this is the most important one. Trust God to keep leading you. God led you into the Catholic Church for a reason. And He's not surprised at what you're experiencing. So trust Him to keep leading you. Bring these things before the Lord in prayer. Say, God, I love the Catholic faith, but I'm really struggling with this or that or the other thing. Please give me grace to help me to learn and to keep trusting you and keep leading me. Friends, if you do those things, I can promise you it'll start to get better. You'll begin to realize the beauty of the Catholic faith, not just from a intellectual mindset or an aesthetic of, oh, it's so beautiful, but actually what it means to live out the Catholic faith and the beauty of it and the amazing adventure that it is, my friends. Friends, if this has been helpful to you, I want to encourage you to pick up a copy of my book, The Convert's Guide to Roman Catholicism, Your First Year in the Church. It's really what this is all about, my friends. I don't want you just to survive your first year in the church. I want you to thrive. I want you to understand how incredible the journey is in the Catholic faith, not just to the Catholic faith, but in the Catholic faith. Friends, it's incredible. Thanks for watching. God bless.